I'm Dave Bryan with the 420 Times.
Okay, so what prompted you to start publishing the 420 Times?
We started the 420 Times because we felt there's a need in Los Angeles and Ventura County for a magazine that answered a lot of questions that medical marijuana patients would have. And so since the beginning, we've been going through and answering questions on legality, medical questions, political questions, and all these things that were never being answered by the weeklies and monthlies that are in Southern California.
Mm-hmm. So, do you support Proposition 19?
Do I support Proposition 19? Yeah, I do support Proposition 19. I think there's a lot of things going for it. Number one, less people being arrested. I think that's huge. I think that's a big drain on everything, people getting arrested. Number two, I think it creates jobs. It has the potential to create so many jobs in the state of California that I think a lot of people might need to take a look at it again just on the jobs front. They probably know more than one person that's out of a job, and that person could have a job in marijuana. So jobs and less people going to jail is the two biggest things.
Okay, so what do you say to, because I know there are a lot of medical marijuana advocates and the people who are
Sure.
putting on this medical marijuana expo are vehemently opposed to Prop 19.
I'm one of the black sheep, I think, here. But you know, Prop 19 does not take away any of their medical rights. It actually says that in there. And I encourage people to read the proposition in their voter mail thing they got in the mail or whatever, to read it. And it's very straightforward. And it keeps all the medical rights in place. The thing it does is it tells the recreational user that you can have an ounce on you, you can grow 25 square feet in your backyard or whatever. It gets rid of all this BS that we have of ticketing and sending people to jail for marijuana, and it creates jobs. And it also raises tax revenue for the state of California. You know, in times of budget crises, I'm sure the state of California could use at least $1.5 billion in tax revenue. So I think those are all very big things that we need to take a look at. But once again, I don't feel it does anything to medical stuff that's going on right now. I think it actually strengthens it in a way.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that California voters will pass Proposition 19?
You know, that's a really good question. About 3 weeks ago, I didn't know. I was very up in the air. And about 3 weeks ago, after seeing more polls, I think it will pass. If you noticed, the polls actually have like this Bradley effect going on, where when they poll people one voice to another voice, it's very close, very, very close. When they do the robocalls with their machine, it does very well, which is sort of like the Bradley effect we had here in the state of California with Tom Bradley running for governor. People, when asked, they said, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Tom Bradley, but when they showed up at the polls, they did not vote for Tom Bradley. So I think it will pass. I see 8% difference, but I think it'll be a little bit closer to that. I think the real problem is Steve Cooley. And I think that is the big issue that nobody's talking about, that is the biggest threat to medical marijuana and to legal marijuana.
Yeah, I've heard he's a real hard ass.
I've heard that too. I've heard, yes, it's true. I have heard he's a real hard ass. But I think that is the most unfriendly politician by far for medical marijuana and recreational marijuana. That is the big 500-pound gorilla that nobody's talking about. Not that he's 500 pounds.
So are you aware of Measure B?
What's that?
Measure B, Long
Measure
Beach's Measure B, which would impose a 15% tax on recreational marijuana if Prop 19's passed?
I have no problem with Measure B, really. I mean, if you look at that Rand Corporation study, they said marijuana prices were going to fall below 50% or something. And, Long Beach is having a tough time like every other city, so I don't see 15% really being a problem. You know, I still think the price of marijuana is going to go far below what they're charging. Los Angeles was at $350, maybe even up to $400 an ounce. And you know, if marijuana drops down to $100 or something an ounce, you know, I think that 15% is a no-brainer. I think it's pretty easygoing. I don't really have a problem with Measure B. I think, you know, you got to start somewhere, and if you don't, and it goes nowhere. But you got to start somewhere. So, you know, the voters of Long Beach can change along the way, you know. But I think you got to start somewhere. And I don't got a problem with it.
And lastly, do you think that Long Beach's medical marijuana law, ordinances are too strict? And if so, why?
Yeah, their ordinances are very strict. They're actually hilarious. The part about having to grow in the city of Long Beach, I think that's a little bit ridiculous. You know, I bet you about 40% of all the people who live in Long Beach probably don't even work in Long Beach. So I don't see how you can make growing in Long Beach a deal breaker. I think they need to take a look at that. Also, their lottery system, I think that was kind of a little bit of a problem. And then, you know, they're not even sending out letters yet to go and inspect people's premises yet. And I was looking at the schedule, and they were supposed to have already done that, and they haven't even done that. So it almost seems like Long Beach is kind of punting the issue down the court, or down the street. And I wonder sometimes if they're just waiting for November 3rd to roll around to do anything substantial.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.